Welcome back, welcome back. Hey, you found me again. Who's this crazy sales guy? I keep running into him again on YouTube. Well, welcome back to the channel. Hey, if you're new here, just so you know, this channel is dedicated to the study of sales, leadership, psychology, communication, and business. Every lesson is built from the first principles because understanding why something works, it's always going to outperform memorizing what to say. I can't stress that enough. Right? I don't know what I'm going to say when I go into sales conversations. Definitely not going to be memorizing word tracks. I'll give you guys ammo to help you, but my gosh, it's about understanding how to navigate, right? So anyway, I can't get somewhere if I don't know how to drive. What's the point of GPS? All right, anyway, hey, before we jump into it, so in sales, a lot of people, you get like hit with a first objection, you get hit with in rapport, maybe a reason they want to use your product. The real problem I want you to understand is really the first problem that comes out of their mouth, and one of the biggest differences between most salespeople and a highly skilled sniper salesperson, it's really problem depth, right? Average salespeople hear a problem and immediately start solving it, okay? But the best of the best hear a problem, we get curious, okay? Because what a prospect initially tells you is usually not the complete problem. A prospect says, I need more clients. That's not necessarily the problem. Okay, prospect says I want to make more money. It's still not necessarily the problem. Okay, they say, hey, I might need a better software. I think we're switching over and doing all this. Guys, it's a symptom. It may only be a symptom. Okay, and that's the distinction. Okay, I want you to think about this distinction too. Okay, I was getting ahead of myself, but think about it like this. Okay, there's a stated problem that takes place, right? Then operational problem, and then a financial problem. Then you'll get the personal problem. Then there's the decision problem. Okay, those are all the problems that are going to take place in a sales call. The stated problem gets you into the conversation. The deeper layers, right, are what create the business case for change or the individual's case for change. So if you solve the wrong layer, you can give an excellent presentation for a problem the prospect doesn't even care enough about solving, or it's not what they're looking to do. So it's all about finding the problem and going into layers so you're not mispresenting your product or your solution to whatever they're actually looking for. Just imagine this. How crazy it would be if a person went to I like using car lots and stuff like that when talking about sales, but just think about this logically for a second. If someone went to a car lot and the car salesman started showing them a truck, but they wanted a sports car, what are we doing here, right? So you want to avoid situations like that. You just got to go deeper. You got to confirm and expand so you can better understand, right? Come on now. The first problem is rarely the reason. All right, listen, so now we're going to jump into modules. What's written is retained. I believe in using notebook, pencil to paper. After you get off my videos, you definitely need to read everything you just learned. I'd say probably 20 to 40 times out loud if you actually want to learn it and apply it. But that's on you, man. I'm teaching you the secret to learning. You don't want to do it. So if you got your fancy technology, that's great too, but I still do believe the best way to learn would be writing things down and then reading it out loud to yourself 20 to 40 times normally is what gets it in there. So listen, Module 1, stop treating discovery like information collection. You know what crappy discovery sounds like? Okay? An intake form, right? We don't want to do that. I'm not interrogating anybody here. That's weird, right? What do you do? How long have you been doing that? How many clients do you have? What are your goals? What are your budget? All right? It's like it's useful information, but information alone does not create understanding. The purpose of discovery is to build a causal model of the prospect situation. You're trying to understand where they are now. How did they get there? Why have they remained there? What is it costing them? Where do they want to go? Why does that matter? What prevents them from getting there independently? Like, why haven't they done it already? The last question is particularly important. What prevents them from getting there independently? Because if someone has a problem, once it's solved, okay, they want it solved, okay? They've had this problem for 3 years and still haven't solved it. There is a problem, a constraint that you haven't discovered yet. Just think about it logically. Okay, so Janet, how long have you been wanting to outsource bookkeeping for? Oh, 3 years. We've been looking to outsource it. Well, Janet, why in the world haven't you outsourced? You've been wanting to do it for 3 years. What's been holding you back? Okay, just figure it out. It's just common sense to me. Let's go down to Module 2. So for Module 2, I titled it, Learn the Difference Between Symptoms and Root Causes. Symptoms and root causes. right? So like, suppose somebody tells you we're not closing enough business. An inexperienced salesperson hears problem equals closing. We're not closing enough business. Okay, so what you do is you recommend closing training. Well, let's investigate, right? Walk me through what you're seeing. They say we're getting appointments, but they're not converting. Now we have more information, and maybe you would ask, well, where specifically are you seeing the prospects fall off at? Right? Then they tell you, usually when we present the price. Well, interesting. Okay, a mediocre salesperson concludes price objection problem. Well, not necessarily, right? So you would ask them, before price ever comes up, how well do you think the prospect understands the financial impact of the problem they're trying to solve? Now you might discover that the sales team isn't quantifying pain. So the actual chain could be weak discovery, weak value creation, price feels disconnected from outcome, price resistance, down the low close rate. The close rate was the symptom, right? The root cause was happening 30 minutes earlier. This principle applies everywhere in sales, okay? The location where the problem becomes visible is not necessarily the location where the problem was created. The location where the problem becomes visible is not necessarily the location where the problem was created. That's an extremely important distinction, okay? So you're starting to see, like, sales is a lot more in depth than you realize. You're just out there like foaming out the mouth like a fool when you got to have more strategy in what you're doing and understand that your job is to understand in full totality this person in front of you, what's going on in their life, work, money, stress, budget. Like, paint a picture for yourself. Kill them. Well, take them out, right? Anyway, I don't mean, you get what I'm saying in the sales call. Hopefully YouTube doesn't get mad at me. But anyway, here's the thing. So use vertical discovery. All right, let's go to module 3. Write this down. Use vertical discovery. So look, with vertical discovery, most salespeople conduct what I call horizontal discovery. You see how I got excited about this? Because no, it's true. They bounce around. Like, they'll say things like this. How long have you been doing this? What do you want to make? Have you tried anything before? What's your biggest challenge? What would success look like? Question. They cover enormous territory without developing depth anywhere instead of using vertical discovery, right? When you discover something important, stay there. Prospects will say something like, hey, I'm having trouble getting clients. Don't immediately move into your next scripted question. Go down. Tell me more about that. When you say you're having trouble getting clients, what specifically has been happening? Well, the prospect explains. Go down again. And how long has that been happening? And then, what have you tried so far to fix it? And what do you think has prevented those things from producing the result you wanted? What has that meant financially for you? And then, outside of the money, how has that affected the business? And then, how long are you comfortable with letting that continue? So it's one subject, it's 6 layers, and that's called depth, right? So let's look at module 4 here. Listen for compression words. Okay, listen for compression words. And the best of the best, we listen differently. The highly skilled, we listen differently. Okay, prospects constantly use what I call compression words. Words that summarize a complicated reality. Okay, struggling, expensive, frustrating, inconsistent, overwhelmed, slow, difficult, stuck, not enough. Every one of these words should trigger curiosity. If someone says business has been inconsistent, don't accept inconsistent, right? That's compressed information. Unpack it. You kidding me? Hey, when you say inconsistent, what does inconsistent actually look like month to month? Right now you can get reality. Well, 1 month we'll do 30,000, then we'll do 12,000, then 18,000. Now you have something concrete. Let me give you another example, right? Prospect says, hey, Nathan, listen, market's been frustrating. Okay, I love when they say that. Well, what specifically has been frustrating about it, right? They might say, we're spending money and can't tell what's working. Well, that's a different problem, okay? Or we're getting leads, but they're terrible, different problem. Or they'll say we're getting good leads, but my team isn't converting them, completely different problem. Listen, number 1, write it down. Never assume you understand an adjective, okay? Never assume you understand an adjective. Make the prospect define their language. Write that down. Got to make them define their language, all right? That's what you have to do. What do you mean by that? Hey, you said this, what does that mean? How do you mean? Tell me more. Talk to me about that, right? You got to move. You got to get in there, baby. All right, number 5, okay? Move from abstract to concrete. Move from abstract to concrete, right? A major objective during discovery is turning abstract statements into measurable reality, all right? I got to make things measurable. Prospect says, I want to grow. Well, what does that mean? Growth means nothing until it has a definition, okay? So you would say, when you say grow, what does that mean specifically? Like grow in revenue, grow in people? What are we talking about, right? See, and they'll say something like, well, I'd like another $20,000 a month. Well, now we're getting somewhere, right? Well, where are you currently? About $30,000. Now the gap is measurable. The current state's $30,000 a month. Desired state's $50,000. The gap's $20,000. Then investigate the gap, right? I mean, how hard can it be? What do you believe is preventing the business from getting from $30,000 to $50,000 right now? And that's a much better conversation than, so you'd like to grow? Oh, we can help you do that. Oh, can you? Right? You don't even know why they want to grow or what's preventing them from growing, like all those things, okay? By the way, these are all doing all the things the wrong way is why you're losing deals, okay? You actually solve a problem and get the business. Listen, they don't do it because it doesn't make sense to them. You didn't make it make sense, right? So anyways, let's go down to module 6 here, bring that down. Find the problem behind the problem. Find the problem behind the problem, right? It's one of my favorite sequences. A prospect gives you a problem. Ask, what does that cost? Then listen, right? And ask it again in a more natural way. Prospect, we don't have enough clients. And what does that create for you financially? My income fluctuates constantly. Okay, then you would say something like, well, when income fluctuates like that, what does that prevent you from doing? Okay, prospect, I can't hire. Now we're going deeper. And because you can't hire, what are you having to handle personally that you shouldn't still be handling? Prospect, pretty much everything, right? So there it is. The conversation started with, I need more clients. But now we got the ammo, okay? So, but now, look, seriously, I don't have a predictable acquisition, which creates unpredictable revenue, which prevents me from hiring, which keeps me trapped from doing everything myself. Those are completely two different sales conversations, right? So the problem is you guys are staying and believing what they're saying when you're on the call with them, and that is not true. Like, even when you go to the doctor, man, you guys know how you are. You don't tell him everything. Come on. So you just got to think like that. Now, he'll start asking you questions. Then all of a sudden, yeah, I take my medicine. Really, it's every other day. And then it's the weekend. It's the same thing, man. So I just can't stress it enough. You just need to have some audacity and confidence and believe in yourself. And it's okay with being uncomfortable. But if you're selling the right way and you genuinely want to help someone and you know after talking with them, this product can do wonders for you, or this service can do wonders for you. Boom, you got to get them in. Common sense. All right, module 7, okay? Man, you guys are sitting in here good today. This is great. I can tell everyone's paying attention and writing good. That's what you want to do when you win at the highest level. You want to make baby money? Don't take notes. All right, so module 7, understand the 3 levels of pain. I like to think about pain in 3 categories, okay? We got level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 called technical pain. Level 2, business pain, okay? Level 3, personal pain. Those are the 3 levels of pain, so write that down. All right? Hey, something isn't working. Level 1, technical pain. I don't have enough leads. My bookkeeping takes too long. My team isn't closing. My margins are low. Important, but usually insufficient by itself. I can't do much with that. Okay? Level 2, business pain. What is the technical problem doing to the economics or operation? Like, we're losing $10K a month, I can't hire, growth is stalled, we're losing customers, my acquisition cost is doubled. Now the problem has consequence, right? So we go over to level 3. You might drop down. Now, I'm going fast. It's on you to pause and rewind, right? I'm not going to sit here and repeat things 100 times. Level 3, personal pain, right? How does the business problem affect the human being? How does the business problem affect the human being? Hey, I can't take time off. I've lost confidence in the business. I'm working every weekend. I thought I'd be much farther ahead by now. I don't know how much longer I want to operate like this. And this is where salespeople need maturity. Like, your job is to not manufacture emotional pain. Your job is to create enough psychological safety and precision that the prospect can articulate consequences that already exist. And there's a massive ethical and tactical difference there. So don't get in here and he's doing all this making pain. No, I don't care if they have no pain. I'm just going to ask some questions, make sure that everything's going to run smoothly for them now and in the future. And if it's not, then it's not for them. No big deal. Anyway, let's go to Module 8. Almost called Level 8. Stuck on the darn pain level. Okay? Hey, so for Module 8, write down, ask for examples. One of the most underrated discovery techniques is extremely simple. Give me an example. Okay? Alright. You just say it to them. Literally, give me an example. Okay, so what do you mean by that? Give me an example. Hey, John, what do you mean by that? Give me an example. Okay? Well, my team isn't accountable. Well, give me an example of like what you're seeing. All right? Well, my salespeople aren't following up. Hey, now we're getting somewhere, right? Well, how often is that happening, right? Constantly. It's still compressed, though. When you say constantly, give me a sense of the numbers. Now maybe they tell you we generate 400 leads a month and probably 150 never receive a second call. Well, this is extraordinarily useful information. You move from my team isn't accountable to 150 leads per month aren't receiving proper follow-up. Specifically, that's the thing. Like, I guess what I really want to say is specificity sells, because the more specific you are, okay, it allows both parties to reason about the same reality. I think that's the best way to put it. So that's why everything's about going in layers, because you just want to be more specific, which removes confusion, which allows a person to make a logical and emotional hybrid decision. Then you got a deal closed. Emotional in a good way, because like they want to change their life and go to the next level. So anyways, go to number 9, okay? Use the timeline, all right? Use the timeline. Hey, and every meaningful problem has it's got a history to it now. It has a history to it. You just got to find it. Hey, so when did you first notice this? What was happening before that? Has it gotten better, worse, or stayed relatively consistent? When did you realize this wasn't going to correct itself? What have you tried since then? The timeline reveals 2 incredibly important things: severity and persistence, right? A problem that they've had for 3 days is different from a problem they've had for 3 years. Okay? Persistence also gives you information about failed solutions. So if they had the problem for years, ask, hey, well, you've obviously known this was an issue for a while. Like, what did you think has kept it unresolved? Like, let them answer, okay? The question can uncover the true constraint. Is it money, knowledge, execution, time, confidence, personal, right? Strategy, accountability, decision avoidance. Want to get somewhere. Number 10, let's drop down module 10. Hey, quantify the cost of the status quo. One of the biggest mistakes in sales is calculating ROI while ignoring cost of inaction, COI. Okay, suppose your solution costs 10 grand. Most salespeople spend their entire presentation defending the 10 grand. That's the wrong frame. The more important economic question may be, what is maintaining the current problem costing them? So you need to ask, if nothing changes over the next 12 months, what do you think the problem cost you? Or you can get more analytical, right? Roughly how many opportunities do you think you're losing each month because of this? Well, maybe 5. And what's an average customer worth? Well, it's about 4,000. So now look at this. So I've got 5 times 4,000. Well, that's potentially 20 grand per month in unrealized revenue. So don't manipulate the calculation. Don't exaggerate it. You want to build it collaboratively, right? So if those assumptions, this is what you'd say to them, right? So so if those assumptions are reasonably accurate, we're potentially talking about roughly $20,000 a month in unrealized revenue. Does that feel fair, or would you calculate it differently? That last sequence matters, baby. Let the prospect correct the math. You kidding me? You want truth, not inflated ROI theater. Okay? And even when you're doing ROI, you should give like more conservative numbers. Okay? A lot of you guys get in there and you say this junk, like ridiculous numbers, like nobody cares. Nobody cares about if you can make them an extra $2 million. right? Okay, they want their problem solved, and that's all it is to it now. Out of that, can $2 million come? Sure, that's awesome. But it's all about just solving problems. I don't know how to stress that enough, and they got to sell themselves. You shouldn't be talking the whole time either. I can't stress that enough either, okay? Hey, be disciplined in your sales call. Be disciplined on and off the phone. Don't get weak. So, listen, Module 11, find out why they haven't sold it themselves, okay? Or sold it. Find out why they haven't sold it themselves. I'm talking about sales all day. We're talking about selling themselves. No, the title is Find Out Why They Haven't Sold It Themselves Yet. That's huge because this is one of the most valuable questions in complex sales. What prevented you from fixing this internally? Because you're identifying the constraint. Imagine they say, I just don't know what to do. That's a knowledge problem, right? Another says, I know exactly what to do, I just don't have time. That's a darn capacity problem, right? Maybe you get another person on the phone, they say, hey, my team won't execute, right? Well, that's a management problem, okay? Another, right? I've tried 3 different systems and none of them worked. I call that trust problem. So different constraints require different presentations. If you don't understand the constraint, you'll pitch features indiscriminately, like blah, blah, blah. You don't want to do that. So Module 12, or I think this is the last one I'm in. No, it's a different video I'm thinking of where I stopped at 12. We're going deeper. Listen, don't accept the first why. Okay, hey, a lot of them are going to say, I want to make more money. I want you to say, well, why? I want financial freedom. That's still vague. What does financial freedom mean? I'd like to make an extra 15 grand a month. Better. Why 50 grand? Because my wife could stop working. Well, now we're getting somewhere. Well, what would that change? She'd be able to spend more time with the kids. Now you understand the meaning attached to the number. This doesn't mean interrogating someone 5 times. Why, right? That's a terrible conversational technique. Use natural language. What makes that number so important to you, and what would that allow you to do, and why now, and what's driving that, and what changes if you get there, and what happens if you don't? It's the same objective, it's just better communication. Let's drop down to Module 3. Separate desire from motivation. Wanting something and being motivated to change are not the same thing. Almost everyone wants like less stress, more freedom, family time, right? Like kids, clients, more vacation, more money. This tells you very little. The stronger question is why is change important now? And this introduces really relevance, okay? You've listened, John, you probably wanted this for a while. What made it important enough to start looking at solutions now? Well, that's an excellent question because often something happened, revenue dropped, they lost an employee, they had a child, they hit burnout, they missed an opportunity, their competitor passed them, they realized retirement is approaching, something created movement. Find the darn catalyst, okay? Let's move to Module 14. Understand the desired state as deeply as the problem. Discovery isn't only pain. You also need to understand the desired future, all right? But again, don't settle for abstractions. I want more freedom. Well, what would freedom actually look like? They say not working Sundays. Well, good. What are you doing Saturdays? Sundays. What are Sundays currently looking like for you? I mean, you work on Sunday. That's nuts. I'm usually working 6 hours. If the business got to this point where Sundays were yours again, what would you actually do at that time? Now the desired state becomes real, right? A sophisticated sales conversation creates contrast between current state and desired state. The larger, more meaningful the contrast, the clearer the decisions become. All right, number 15, use contrast questions. Contrast creates reality, okay? Hey, listen, and these are questions you need to ask. If you're not asking them, that's on you. Where are you today versus where you expected to be by now? What does a good month look like compared to a bad month? Okay? What are your best performers doing differently from everyone else? What would need to change for you to call the next 12 months successful? If we had this conversation a year from now and nothing changed, how would you feel about that? You see, contrast forces the brain to compare realities. That's useful because humans often understand differences more easily than isolated values, right? Hey, I don't want you creating pain. Let's go to Module 6. I don't want you to create pain, okay? I want you to clarify it. This is where sophisticated selling separates itself from manipulated selling. You do not need to convince somebody their life is terrible. You don't need theatrical lines. You don't need to emotionally beat someone into submission. You just need clarity. Clarify things, right? Hey, how significant is the problem to you? Really? Talk to me about that. And then shut up. Quit talking, right? If they say it's annoying, but honestly, not that significant. Good, like you learned something. Maybe they're not qualified. Don't manufacture urgency where none exists. The goal isn't to close everyone. The goal is to understand where everyone accurately enough to determine where a sale should happen. Okay? Let's go to question 17. Listen for contradictions. Or module 17. Listen for contradictions, right? Contradictions are discovery gold. Okay? Prospect says, I really need to fix this 10 minutes later. It's not really affecting us that much. Don't attack the contradiction. Just clarify it. Well, help me reconcile something. Earlier you mentioned that this was becoming a major priority, but it also sounds like the impact might be relatively manageable. How are you thinking about those two things? That's a high-level sales question. You're not accusing. You're asking them to resolve their own inconsistency, right? Another example, hey, I need to make a change immediately, and then later, I'll probably revisit this in 6 months. Well, I'm curious about something. You mentioned earlier that you felt this needed to change pretty quickly. What changed between that and thinking 6 months might make more sense? Well, let them think, okay? Let them think. Let's go down to the next module, using labeling carefully. Hey, sometimes you need to synthesize what you're learning. It sounds like the issue isn't necessarily lead volume. It's that you don't have a predictable system for converting the opportunities you're already generating. Is that accurate? This is great because you're testing a hypothesis. Notice you didn't say, here's your problem. You said it sounds like, and is this accurate? That's collaborative diagnosis. You're giving the prospect the ability to reject or refine your interpretation, right? Let's go to number 19, the problem summary. Hey, in module 19, title it the problem summary. Before presenting anything, summarize the case. This is one of the most important parts of the entire sales conversation. Hey, let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly before we talk about what I'd recommend. Then summarize. You're currently generating around $30,000 a month. You want to get closer to $50,000 a month. The biggest constraint doesn't appear to be lead generation because you're already creating enough opportunities. The issue is that follow-up is inconsistent, which is causing opportunities to fall through the cracks. You've tried fixing that internally, but without a defined process, the behavior keeps coming back. And the bigger concern for you is that without predictable revenue, you don't feel comfortable hiring, which means you're still carrying too much of the operation yourself. Is that a fair summary? Then stop. Let them correct you. If they say exactly, you know you have permission to prescribe, baby. Go in. All right, module 20. The best presentation is built during discovery. This is the payoff. If the discovery is weak, your presentation becomes, here's everything our product does. Feature, 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 feature. But when discovery is strong, you don't need to present anything. You present the specific mechanisms that solve the diagnosed constraints, right? You can say, based on what you told me, there are really 3 things that we need to solve, and then name them. Now your presentation feels customized because it is customized, okay? You're not throwing information at the prospect and hoping something sticks. You're connecting problem, mechanism, outcome, okay? So let me give you some advanced word tracks here, and then I'm going to conclude the video today. So look, when the answer is too vague, help me understand what that looks like in practice. When you say X, what specifically do you mean? Can you give me an example? How does that show up in the day-to-day? When you find something important, that's interesting, stay there for a second. I want to understand that a little bit better. You mentioned something there, and I don't want to skip over it. Walk me through that. How does that create, to find impact? What does that create downstream? How is that affecting the rest of the business? What does that prevent you from doing? What does this cost you? How significant is that? So I'll leave this video for you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check us out at Universal Accounting Center. Couchpreneur Sales, baby. See you around.